Coming straight from the fields of East England into New York City is a pretty big transition, to say the least. A little bit of jet lag, but I'm looking forward to what Men's Health has in store for this whole road trip. Smoking tires in the streets to the sets of Hollywood, and onto the racetrack and pretty much everything in between. I'm Tanner Foust, and welcome to Life in the Foust Lane. When I think of New York, I think of sushi. I think of summer dresses in the spring, and I think of a lot of people packed into one place. Crocodile Mick Dundee said it best when he said it must be the friendliest place on earth if 8 million people all want to live next door to each other. I'm not that big a city person, but man, it can be a great place to visit. Auto shows are cool. You know, they're cool, and as a 6-year-old, I would have thought they were cool, and now I still think they're cool. It's very surreal to me to cruise around auto shows and see how many people I know in the different manufacturers. And to get recognized by people is very surreal too, because I'm a fan of the cars, just like everybody else is. It's nice to see Dodge out here and showing off Travis's new car. I mean, this is a big thing for the sport that Travis is involved, but also I know that he's gonna do really well in the sport, and it's gonna be great to have him as a competitor again. The new Viper was out. That thing is a very anticipated car, and here you have a company that's basically a government-owned company now, releasing a new sports car. You know, how good is it gonna be? And you see it, and it's just a beautiful machine. Men's Health put together a challenge to drive across the country on only electric power with the new Ford electric vehicle based on the Focus.
This is the first time any journalist has been allowed to drive this car. So it's kind of an exciting thing. Like, we're literally driving it off of the showroom floor, and you can't do that with a car for the rules of pretty much all auto shows, but because it's electric, it's like driving a golf cart out of the building, so it's fine. So we're totally cool, but I wish them well. It should be about a 2-month trip, maybe about a month actually, from here to LA. And by LA, I mean almost to Pittsburgh for me, and then I'm heading home. The car looks very cool so far, so we'll see how it goes.
It is gonna be an adventure, because the more you look at that itinerary for this, you have 3 hours to charge the car every 100 miles of driving. So you're gonna see the country, whether you like it or not, and you're gonna experience the people. It should be interesting. Testing in Willow Springs is a kind of a dress rehearsal. It's a place to set the compound up. It's see how much pit space we need. It's first time the teams get the chance to kind of work together, certain mechanics on certain cars, drivers working together or against each other. It's in the desert, so it's usually very hot and very windy. But you know, it's a place that I've been to a lot, so it's kind of hometown. Testing in Willow Springs for me is all about learning the differences between the European car and the American car. They're small differences, but the rules are slightly different, so the cars are going to be slightly different. I'm comfortable with the car, I'm used to the sound, I'm used to the process and the team. I have an advantage there. I'm not going to take away any testing time from Deegan, who hasn't been able to go to Europe and drive these cars like I have. But for me, I just want to see what different driving technique and setup technique is required for the American car. Andreas is the team owner and manager of Olsberg's MSE. He's a guy who's raced RallyCross for as long as anybody. He's raced WRC. He is at heart a driver. He is one of the most competitive human beings I know of, and he has this mentality when it comes to preparing cars. There's absolutely no expense spared for a single championship point.
Tanner is really technical. At the same time, he thinks too much. He wants to know everything about the car, he wants to be involved in everything. and that sometimes it's extremely good because you hear everything. If something is wrong in the car, it tells me something is wrong, and I know, so, oh fuck, we have a problem. Next time, it could be that he overthinks it, you know, instead of just driving and, you know, don't listen, just go. So it's really pleasant to work with him when it comes to that, because I often can fix the car before it breaks.
Our relationship is one where we can talk about very detailed things because of his driving background. We've made a transition in the last couple years of working together where he told me what the suspension should be like and what it should feel like, and then I went and drove it, to now I've had enough experience in the car where I can help him make suspension decisions, still relying on his experience, but I can kind of on my own now set the car up the way that I like.
To be honest, I think it's quite good. It's really hard to be a driver and perform well all the time. There's so many factors into it. So I don't think it's a problem. I can handle that quite well. I can handle the technical side and what he wants to do, and I can encourage him to push harder if he wants to. If I turn it around, the mechanics like him because he never yells. If something breaks, he knows why it breaks. If you compare him with other drivers, I think many drivers doesn't have the feeling for the car as he has.
I would say Tanner, out of all the guys, has helped me the most, and he's really given me a lot of tips on car setup, on what gears to use and what turns, and you know, we share a lot of information, and I feel like we make a good team, really, and we go out, I think if we stick together as teammates, we could do some damage in the series, you know, and go out and work together and go and take down the competition. You know, I think if I'm gonna lose to anyone, it would be like Tanner would be the guy I feel least worried about because he's got skills and he's legit, you know, so if he beats me, it's because he drove better that day, and you know, if I beat him, it's the same. And I feel like I still can learn a lot from him, and he helps me. You know, a lot of the other guys won't tell me anything, or they just don't want to help me at all, and I get it, it's cool, but you're the guys when I have a chance to just take you out, so it's all good.
Admittedly, I do have more experience in these cars than Brian, of course, and so if he has questions, I am there to help. He's a very, very, very fast learner with this stuff. If he is slower in one section and he asks why and you talk about it, he will be faster for the rest of the day. And so there's a 90% information sharing policy where you got to try to keep a little bit of 10% to yourself, otherwise he'll be cleaning my crock everywhere. We go from here, basically car packed up, goes back to the shop, gets put on display in the shop, and we've got a party with Rockstar, Etnies, Ford, a couple other people involved. We've got Carry the Load Charities involved. It's going to be a cool deal, and it's basically, we've got a new shop, and the series has started. It's just to get people in the LA area kind of stoked about RallyCross and come see the program that we've got. We've got a huge program with 5 cars. And there's a lot of industry that is really curious about the cars. We're gonna have them opened up. People can come check them out, you know? And we want to get as much exposure to the type of racing as possible. Testing done, and now it's on to GRC in the States in Charlotte for round 1 of that racing series. But first we're headed over to Long Beach, which is a little bit out of the way, but I get to try on my judging hat.